Today, you are going to get a front row seat to the behind the scenes story of the Springboks journey at the 2015 Rugby World Cup with Assistant Coach Ricardo Loubscher. Ricardo, welcome to Front Row Rugby.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me.
Now, before we begin our conversation, let's take a look at today's trivia question. JP Peterson and Brian Habana were the joint top try scorers for the Springboks at the 2015 Rugby World Cup. How many did they score? Now, if you know the answer to the question, you can put it in the comment section down below, and we'll also find out if Ricardo knows the answer, but we'll do that at the end of our conversation. Ricardo, let's start at the beginning, just before we departed for that World Cup in England in 2015. How confident were you guys that we could go all the way?
Yeah, just looking at the management team, world class. We had a good squad, lots of experience, the likes of Victor Matfield, Fourie de Pre, Dwayne Vermeulen, and Jean de Villiers, and I can go on and on and on. Yeah, from that point of view, the planning was spot on. Obviously, the first 6 months, as coaches, we do a lot of analysis and just looking at teams. So each coach had different teams to look at, to analyze, and then obviously what we'll do is we'll get together and just share that information, but lots of planning and alignment camps just to get everybody on the same page. Yeah, and I think the build up wasn't perfect because we struggled a bit. Few players had niggles, so ideally we wanted to play the World Cup game, sort of a friendly just before the World Cup. Unfortunately, because of injuries, we couldn't play that. But yeah. Great experience. Yeah, I think in general it was a lovely experience for myself.
Describe your particular role on the training ground.
Yeah, I was a backline coach, and as a backline coach, if you don't score tries or any team, when you're involved with a team and you're the backline coach, you don't score tries. The first person they have a go at is the backline coach. Yeah, so my job was to basically to look after just the backline, just all the systems, strategies. Yeah, that's in a nutshell, basically my role.
And what was your relationship like with Heyneke Meyer?
Yeah, no, Heyneke Meyer a lot. When I started at the Bulls, he was the first guy to give me opportunity to get involved with coaching. I obviously played under him, but we had a lovely time. I've learned a lot from a coaching perspective. I've learned a lot from him, and yeah. And just to go to the World Cup, being part of that management team, part of that squad, unbelievable opportunity. And yeah, I won't look back in terms of any regrets. I really enjoyed it.
Okay, Ricardo, those were a couple of soft questions just to get us into it, because you know what I'm going to ask you next. The opening game against Japan, what happened?
Yeah, I'm still looking for the answers. We had sort of the ideal week, and I think Japan just on the day took their chances. We had obviously had chances against them. Yeah, and it came down to a last try. And you look back at it, you think maybe is there anything that you could have done differently? In my book, no. But I must say the response of the players after the Japan game was just unbelievable. They took a lot of ownership and accountability, and yeah, we went out to play. We played against Samoa, and we just smashed them. So from that point of view, brilliant. But as I said, yeah, Japan game, we're not going to talk a lot about that today, obviously.
I have to ask you, Ricardo, what was it like being in the dressing room after that defeat?
Yeah, I think if I look back now, when I saw some of the Japan players walking into our change room, obviously to exchange jerseys, and you look at the size of it and you think that wow, we just got beaten by a team but they obviously played with a lot of guts and a lot of tempo, and a lot of credit to them. They took the opportunities, we didn't. Yeah, and then looking around in the change room, you look at the faces of players, management team, and we all just dead quiet. No one said a word. And unfortunately for me, I was the one doing media the Monday. So myself, Jesse Creel, Pat Lambie, we were the unfortunate ones, if I can put it that way. Yeah, but we can learn a lot from that. I think on the day, you gotta show respect. It doesn't matter who you're playing. You gotta respect the team you're playing.
And I'd be very interested to hear from you, what was Heyneke's reaction in the aftermath of that match?
Yeah, obviously disappointed. He's normally a guy who's very passionate, very animated, very driven. Um, yeah, just to see him afterwards, the body language. But I must say, the Monday, the initial plan, we had a normal Monday, but he took a lot of, showed a lot of leadership. So the Monday cancelled the whole program, called all the players in the team meeting, and just asked them to stand up, come forward, and explain exactly what went wrong and how we're going to fix it. So he showed a lot of leadership, and that's just the quality of the man. And yeah, a massive, massive opportunity to turn things around. And he was, in his mind, it was all about being part of the solution. And yeah, we turned our World Cup basically. We turned our World Cup around that Monday morning. I think it was 9 o'clock. But it was a very emotional day. Very emotional day.
As you mentioned, we bounced back beautifully, first up against Samoa with that big win. 46-6, I think, was the final score. You've already described how the players took ownership of the tournament at that moment. Just talk to me a little bit about the focus that you noticed from the players on the training ground that week.
Yeah, I think Dwayne Vermeulen wasn't part of that, and he joined us that week. And as every player came forward and just to explain what happened, and he got up and he said, "Listen, boys, obviously I wasn't part of that, and I can't repeat what he said, but it wasn't a lot, but straight talking to the point, and I think that basically summed it up for me. Just the mindset, how to approach the next few days, the Samoan game, and as I said, we came out and just physically dominated them, and I think it was a brilliant response from the players.
Do you really know your rugby? Do you always get your predictions right? Why not make some money then? Open an account right now with Tic Tac Bets and get up to 2,000 Rand and 20 spins with your first deposit. The link is appearing on your screen, and I'll also put it in the description area. Please note that this is an affiliate link and I will make a little commission on it. Winners know when to stop. National Responsible Gambling Program. Toll-free helpline 0800 006 008. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Beating Samoa, and then after that we defeated Scotland. Would you say that there was a fair bit of relief in the camp at that moment?
100%. I think after the Samoan game, the feeling was almost, all right, we got this thing back on track. And then you get to the Scotland game, and it's in Glasgow. It's always a tight game, a close game against Scotland. And it wasn't any different sort of game against them on a day. And yeah, once we got past Scotland, we had USA, America. And yeah, after that game, you feel, okay, shit. Now we can all take a break and get ready for the quarters. But tough pool. And I think especially when you get, say, your top quality teams and you're facing them and you have to get past those teams to get to the playoffs.
I want to talk a little bit about the United States of America, Ricardo. From a coaching point of view, how difficult can it be to prepare for an opponent when you're expected to win by quite a large margin?
There's always the expectation, and it's probably 9 out of 10 times is within the group, within the camp, that you want to go out and to make people smile, and you want to make our nation proud. And I think that for us, it was always about being the best team in the world. That was our aim. And I think sometimes when you get to play those teams, and it's a matter of, is it 50, 15, that kind of score. And but then it's about looking at your structures, look at your performance, more so than the score. So I think getting past USA was a sort of a brilliant game for us in terms of the score. But then the following game against Wales was really a tough one, a close game.
Ricardo, we often hear stories about the players enjoying the sights and the sounds of the country that's hosting the World Cup or away from home on a tour. Do the coaches get to see the sights and sounds as well?
I think so we used to train Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On a Thursday, because your day and your week is so intense. So on a Thursday, it's normally the off day, so you just want to get away. And it's whether you're going out with someone or just go to... sometimes it's just going to find a bookshop where you can just sit down, just get away from that intensity, because it's getting quite intense. Yeah, and then obviously after the off day, we're all looking forward to get back to the Friday, which is normally your captain's run. But it's very intense. But I must say, I wouldn't swap it for anything from a coaching point of view.
Tell me a bit about England. How much did you actually enjoy the country while you were there for the World Cup?
The biggest thing for me was probably to see if I can find a fish and chips sort of spot where you can sit down and eat. And yeah, normally it's either a glass of wine or beer you're having with that. But it's always nice to just to get away from rugby. And normally the off day is that sort of opportunity. Brighton, just we walked about, get to see the beach a bit. So yeah, lovely experience. And then obviously the people. It was obviously lovely to experience them as well.
Then the quarterfinal against Wales was actually quite a tight affair. What was the feeling at halftime?
Obviously, doing your analysis, and over the 4 years playing against Wales, we knew it's going to be a very tough game. For some reason, it's always tight, and it's maybe down to the similar styles. They're a very physical team. They kick a lot. With their rush defense, it was always tough to beat them. I think halftime was a chat was around just stay composed, wait for the chance, and lucky enough we had that opportunity where Duane Vermeulen just with Fourie de Pre broke to the blind side, offloaded to Fourie, and Fourie scored in the left hand corner. So that was a game changer for us. But up to that point, it was really tight game, so to speak.
And as you mentioned there, Fourie de Pre scored a memorable try, capping off quite an innovative move. How many hours go into practicing something like that on the training ground?
When you do your analysis, what we found is that the way they defend, they set up from it, what was the left-hand scrum. So the way they defend with the wing, he was sitting right behind the scrum. So we knew if we can just sort of animate to the open side and just shape them to almost make them think we're going to go to the open side and just go to the left side, the short side. Yeah, so that was a perfect opportunity right in that left-hand corner for Duane picked it up, offloaded to Fourie, and it was just for him to finish in that left corner. Yeah, what a moment for us. And it was a game changer in terms of our World Cup.
Hey, if you're enjoying this video, why not consider becoming a patron? You can click on my Patreon link. I'll put it on the screen as well as in the description box, and there will be great benefits for members. Let's get back to the interview. So how confident were you guys ahead of the All Blacks match in the semi-finals?
Very confident. If you look at the game, so we did our analysis and we realized that a key focus for us was the breakdown, because they're teams that they love to play this fluid rugby, quick ball, and we realized that if we can slow down their ball, Francois was unbelievable in that game, just slowing down the ball, forcing turnovers. Second half was a little bit tough for us. When the rain came down, they kicking in behind us, turn us around all the time. So it was really tough to get out of our half. And yeah, and I think we look at individual performances. Dan Carter was just unbelievable in that game.
The final score was 2018 to New Zealand, as we now know. Very tight match. The reality, though, is that they did outscore us by 2-0. Now, I'm keen to hear from you. Does that make it easier to accept, or does that just add to the frustration?
It's more frustration than anything else, because we had a penalty, and it was sort of in Pat Lambie's range. And just for that penalty to be turned around, and I don't know what happened, but there was something happened before that penalty. So the ref decided they're gonna, with the TMO, they're gonna change their decision around. And yeah, we knew when the plan was always to make sure before the rain came down that we want to be ahead. Unfortunately for us, it didn't happen. They were just brilliant on the day. Scored beautiful tries. We kicked a lot of penalties. And yeah, it was sort of a tough game to play catch up with the rain, weather conditions in that moment.
Ricardo, I've heard that in 1999, Nick Mallett gave the team off ahead of the third place playoff, but then France shocked the All Blacks in that semi-final, and then Nick changed his tune and said, no, boys, listen, we have to prepare for this one. What was Heyneke Meyer's approach to the third place playoff against Argentina?
In hindsight now, the plan was always you want to go out on a high. So there was a lot of respect play against Argentina. And I think it was a big thing for us. Obviously disappointed not making the the semis. But yeah, same preparation. You make sure that you prepare well. Your planning is spot on. Your analysis is spot on. So yeah, it was a normal week for us. Nothing different from any other week.
Ricardo, some coaches are known for being almost like a father figure to the players. Was there a player in the squad in 2015 at the World Cup that you were particularly close with?
I can't single out anyone. I went through the squad and you look at the names: Brian Abena, Jean de Villiers, and Jesse Creel, Andre Porot. But I would put it this way: my relationship with the players, there was a lot of respect, mutual respect. The big thing, and before I got involved with the Boks, and I had the opportunity to just spend a bit of time with Ian McIntosh, and he advised me and said, listen, he used to call anyone, if he meets you, he said, listen, Master, that's normally the way for him to address you. He said, Master, if you can I give you advice? The one thing once you get involved with the players is make sure you respect them. So I think from that point of view, I took it on board. I would describe my relationship with the players as mutual respect, and it's all about serving them and make sure you give them the best opportunity to perform.
Ricardo, I've heard stories about the players giving assistant coaches sleeping tablets and that sort of stuff in years gone by. Did any of them play a prank on you?
No, not really. But I know some players. Willem Albers is quite a character, and it wasn't at a World Cup, but we had a Kontiki, and I think it was after the New Zealand game, and I think we lost, and Willem just came into the Kontiki dressed as a traffic cop, the whole uniform, almost like the Leon Schuster movie, where he was dressed up like that, and I thought just the look, and obviously the performance going with that, it was unbelievable. That was really funny.
And when you look back at that World Cup in 2015, now we finished third, we got a bronze medal. Would you say that it was a pleasing performance, or do you feel like we were just that little bit off and maybe we could have gone all the way?
Our goal was always to make sure we wanted to get to the playoffs, and to play in a final or not to play in a final was really disappointing, because you look at the players. Probably, if I got it right now, and I'm speaking under correction, probably 20 players that was part of that World Cup went on and played in the next World Cup. So in hindsight now, Heyneke just brilliant with his selection in terms of picking the right guys. Lots of frustration, lots of disappointment not to be part of that final. And then obviously we didn't watch the final, but when we heard the score, that was even more so disappointing. I'm talking about New Zealand versus Australia.
I can just imagine. Tell me, Ricardo, when you lose to the team that actually goes on and wins the whole thing, does that make it any easier to accept?
If you look at our semi against New Zealand, you go through the list of players. I'm talking about their team now. Some of those players were in the best in their positions in the world. And when you lose against a quality team like that, there's a lot of respect and you give them a lot of credit. But then if you go to the final, you look at that performance, taking nothing away from Australia. But we thought the way we played in that semi-final, there was we had a chance against them, and we believe that deep down.
And maybe to a certain extent, there was an element of revenge 4 years later, because even though we lost to them in the pool stage, we would go on and win that World Cup. Ricardo, we're going to finish off by looking again at the trivia question. JP Peterson and Brian Habana were the joint top try scorers for the Springboks at the 2015 Rugby World Cup. How many did they score? Now, Ricardo, I suppose you do know the answer, but I suppose the real question is, do you remember what the correct answer is?
Yeah, you put me on the spot now. Oh, it's how many years now ago? Sure, I'm going to take a guess now. You're not talking about in total, you just say...
Specifically at the 2015 World Cup.
Sure, I can't remember now. Maybe you must help me out.
Okay, I'll give you the correct answer. It is in fact 5. They both scored 5 tries at that tournament.
Okay.
Ricardo, let me say, it was lovely having you on Front Row Rugby today. An absolute pleasure, especially to go back down memory lane and relive a memorable Rugby World Cup, even though South Africa was unable to win it in the end. But again, lovely to have had you on the show, and I hope that we can have you on again in the future.
Yeah, Peter, thanks to you, and thanks for having me, and yeah, brilliant job. And yeah, I'm looking forward to the next chat. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for watching. I'm also working on a lot of Rugby World Cup related content, and I'll put that in a playlist over here for you to go and watch. See you next time.